all relationships are toxic. I feel like there's so much more to life than just like around every day. I have a lot of guy friends, and he was not okay with me talking to guys.
There's probably a high percentage of them that would you give the opportunity. In fact, some of them might be into you and they're just waiting for their opportunity.
Sure,
right?
yeah. I do go for intelligence. Like, I want a person who's very intelligent emotionally and intellectually. If you can talk about even a damn wheel for an hour with passion and make me believe in that idea that a wheel is sexy and is amazing, is like the invention behind it, the research behind it, the science behind it, I would be into that guy.
There's a difference between attraction and connection. Now, the reason people think that guys focus on looks so much is because looks is the part of the equation that's the difficult part.
Elevate your personal life, not bring you down and make you feel bad about yourself.
So when I look in reality and I see that, and then I hear girls tell me, no, we love the nice guys, I'm like, where is this in reality? You know, I feel like people are telling me the sky is green, and then I walk outside and I just see it's blue over and over.
Sometimes people lose spark, and that can happen with a good guy or a bad guy.
Trauma is there to protect you from the bad decisions you've made in your past.
It's good because it fuels you, it gave you the fire to do things that you wanted to do. It added to the fire, but there's other ways to get that fire, and like, you don't have to go through that to get the fire. You can learn from the experiences, you can, become a better person tomorrow. And that's literally all that therapy does. It just helps you resolve your emotions. Just be very logical about it.
Welcome to Unattainable. Glad to have you with us. I'm your host, Zach Evans, and first of all, thank you to all of our listeners. We've been getting a ton of growth over the last couple weeks, and we got to thank you guys for that. Today, we got a special guest on the show. This is Shani. Shani, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself to the audience, your name, what you do, and your star sign.
Hi guys, I'm Shani, and I'm based in LA. I'm a model, actress, and a cybersecurity engineer, 9 to 5 at Google. And my star sign is Cancer.
Cancer.
Cancer. Yeah.
I know a
crier.
couple of cancers.
Yeah, what do you think about them?
They're fun. They're bad for my mental health, though.
No, we are amazing for mental health. What do you mean? Why are they bad?
Toxic, I think, is the word that comes to mind.
No.
Yeah. Toxic, but toxic.
Cancers are fun. Why toxic? I'm curious.
I've only had a drink thrown in my face 2 times in my life. Both of them were from your people. You can't.
From my people.
Yeah.
I've never thrown a drink.
Have you ever been in a toxic relationship?
Yes, one.
Interesting.
Well, technically all relationships are toxic, but like one really toxic one.
For cancers, all the relationships are toxic. Not for us normal people, no.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't judge, by the way. I used to be very toxic back in my villain era. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You had a villain era?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Well, so I'm a recovering fuckboy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But back in the day, I was a professional. Not like these amateur Gen Z fuckboys you see nowadays.
Right,
They're
yeah.
bird scooters. And
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing.
you guys fall for dudes who have a bed that touches 2 walls. Do you
I
not know
don't.
what a nightstand is?
I don't.
I don't understand it. like when I was a fuckboy, you would take your shirtless selfies at Equinox, not at LA Fitness, and you'd post on Raya, not on Hinge. It's just different times, It's different times.
So do you miss that?
No, I matured out of it.
Okay.
It was fun for 8 years,
Okay.
and I got out of the fuckboy phase. Yeah.
I never get that phase though. I just like always think of myself like if I was a boy and if I was like a extremely good looking man, would I do that? I feel like there's so much more to life than just like around every day. I don't get the appeal.
The problem is every fuckboy comes from a place of insecurity. That's the truth.
It's more like reassuring themselves that they're worth it.
It's the validation. It's not even about the sex, actually. It's about the validation that this girl likes me. Okay, I proved she likes me. Let me make sure this other girl likes me. Okay, she likes me. I'm good enough. Telling your friends, look how cool I am. I fucked this hot girl, blah, blah, blah. It's essentially that.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's what I've heard. It's mostly about themselves and just finding the truth.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. When you dated the toxic relationship guy, at the beginning of the relationship, did you kind of know he was toxic in the back of your mind? But he was
Yeah.
fun and dangerous and exciting, so
Oh
you
my
didn't care.
God, yes. I
Okay.
knew from day one it was bad news. Like immediately when I started texting him, I knew it was bad news.
How
But
did you know?
he love bombed me. He was just very, very persuasive. And when we started dating, like he gave me the best birthday of my life at the time. Like, gave me so many surprises. A dress that I was like waiting for. I didn't want to buy for myself because it was too expensive. It just showed up at my door, and he drove like a really nice car. I didn't know what he did, but I was like, "What? You're too young. You're like 21. How are you affording all these things?" I just assumed that he came from a good family. God, he was just bad news, but we had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, how did you guys meet originally?
We met at a party.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, how long did the relationship last?
6 months.
Okay, so it was relatively short.
Yeah.
And then, how did it end?
Just, things happened. It ended. I just decided it wasn't for me anymore, and I had to just, mature out of it, basically, because we were fighting a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like constant fighting and behaviors that were red flags, and my friends would be like, "How? No, get out of that. Don't put up with that."
Mm-hmm.
A lot of jealousy, possessiveness. I have a lot of guy friends, and he was not okay with me talking to guys,
Mm-hmm.
which was insane to me because I was like, I only have guy friends. I don't know how to not have guy friends.
So here's the problem with that. It depends on the girl. Because the reality is, out of your guy friends, and I don't know your guy friends personally, just based on my experience in life, there's probably a high percentage of them that would you given the opportunity. In fact, some of them might be into you and they're just waiting for their opportunity.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
And so it depends on the girl in terms of, is it a girl you trust enough that you know she's not going to fuck around and she can have these platonic relationships knowing that the guy is potentially into her and then still not doing anything, versus a girl who it's a red flag to me when girls aren't aware of it. Because if they're like, "No, he's just my friend," and I'm like, it's so obvious this guy's like in love with you. He won't say anything, but given the opportunity, he will pull the trigger.
I think a lot of that has happened to me. I agree with that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my guy friends, I feel like, have been into me at some point, and I was very much aware of that, and I made it very clear, like, hey, this is not gonna go beyond this. I want you to be very clear about that. I don't want to lead you on. If this is not something that works for you, we should stop talking. But don't ever think that being with me or like having a friendship with me is going to change how I feel. And I think a lot of times I'm not aware either, because like I've grown up around guys and I am aware like how they think and everything. Still, sometimes I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes like he's just a friend. He's just being nice to me. So that could be a genuine mistake on a girl's part too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that is true.
Yeah.
What is your normal type? Let's go looks first.
Oh my God, my normal type, blue-eyed blonde guy. I don't know, very like, yeah, that's my boyfriend right now. So that's my type.
And is it more like pretty boy look or more like masculine?
I would say pretty boy.
Pretty boy.
Pretty boy with like a little bit of masculinity.
I see.
Yeah.
And what about height? Height matters or no?
Not that much. I used to only strictly date tall guys, like because I was just like such a thing. Like girls are always like tall guys. So I was like, yeah, I guess I gotta date a tall guy because that's the norm. That I was just brainwashed, and I'm not that tall, so I realized it's just kind of inconvenient for me to date a 6'3". I have to like, I was like, I seriously, like I would get
my neck hurts from looking up. Literally.
And no, but so I'm not particular about height anymore.
It surprises me. So the first fashion model I dated, she was 5'11", so 3 inches shorter than me, but with heels, it's like, pretty on par. And it was funny. She told me a story. She said she used to only date basketball players, NBA players, stuff like that. And then she got like fucked over so many times by those guys that she was like, Zach, the next guy I dated was like 5'8". He was like the short king, right? But she was like, he was so nice and confident and he had his money right and all this stuff, right? And I was like, what happened to him? And she's like, yeah, so it was the third date and I guess the guy comes over. She had a couple like glasses of wine beforehand, so she was kind of drunk. Mm-hmm. And she's like, Zach, I opened the door and she picked him up. And she spun him around and watched his little legs like flail out to the side. She was like, Zach, after that, I lost all respect for him and I couldn't do it anymore.
Because she picked him up.
I mean, I was like, it's your fault. But I get it.
I cannot date a guy shorter than me. That's definitely not going to happen. Like, no.
Oh, so height does matter, but it's just you're pretty short.
Just, I'm 5'4", so I can date a guy who's 5'10". Like, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, oh, I only date, because I know girls who are my height who are like, I can only date 6 feet taller, which is, I don't understand. Mm-hmm. Like, 5'10" is pretty tall for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's looks. What about personality? What do you go for personality wise?
I don't know. I used to go for the typical, pretty boys with like the charm they show on in the movies, and but as I grew older, I realized there's more to people than just their looks, so I really go for like genuine kind heart. And
don't lie to me.
No,
Shani.
I do. I'm not lying. I am absolutely not lying. My boyfriend, like, I literally, that's like the first thing I got attracted to, like how nice he was, how kind of a person he was, and how he treated other people, and how he treated me. Like, every time I was with him, he made me feel like I was smarter, and if I struggled, he taught me a lot of, cybersecurity knowledge and stuff. Like, he's really good at it. And
he works for Google too, or how did like?
No, he has like an independent contractor.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just like the way he treated me just really melted my heart, and I was like, this is what I want. This is what I've been missing. So yeah, I do go for that.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Whenever girls tell me that, because I started off as the nice guy. When I grew up, I had religious parents. They taught me be polite and kind and so nice. And so I was that guy for years. And I just got friend zoned. And, oh, can you introduce me to your friend? I think he's cute, and blah, 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 blah. And so finally I was like, fuck this shit. I'm sick of like getting friend zoned. So that's when I became the fuckboy for like 8 years. And then now I've kind of matured out of that stage. But I've seen like both sides, and I feel like even when guys are the nice guy, it's like not the niceness that attracts you. That's like a bonus. I feel like it's because he's like successful in the same industry as you, and that's like attractive because he's intelligent and things like that.
Obviously intelligence. I do go for intelligence. Like, I want a person who's very intelligent emotionally and intellectually, and that for me is obviously, I think it is above looks now, because I dated a guy who was not that smart, and that wasn't for me. So I think intellect is more attractive to me than physical looks.
I have become increasingly picky with intelligence in the girls I date, but not from a standpoint of like they went to college, they read a lot of books, but from a like social intelligence, people that are interested in talking about psychology or the way people are the way they are. Things like that otherwise I just get bored.
Yeah, I think passion is very important for me. Like, I have noticed that if you can talk about even a damn wheel for an hour with passion and make me believe in that idea that a wheel is sexy and is amazing, is like the invention behind it, the research behind it, the science behind it, I would be into that guy. Like, all you have to do is just be passionate and just show me that you're truly 100% invested in something, not surface level.
But what if it was something like, all right, what if like there's a guy in this hypothetical world, super passionate, ambitious, and he was like, babe, I'm going to become the greatest Rubik's Cube player of all time.
Sure. Go for it.
And you're like in bed, you're like, babe, come cuddle. And he's like, not right now, babe. Blue, blue, yellow, yellow, red, green. You still think that he's attractive? If it was something like that?
Well, it depends if it's going somewhere, if he's like actually putting in real effort, and if he's succeeding in that, yeah. I mean, why not?
You can't have the losing Rubik's Cube player.
If he's like trying that for a long time and it's just not going anywhere, that could be a little off-putting. Like,
I see. Mm-hmm. How old are you? You're very confusing.
I'm as old as I look.
You seem like you're like 30s, but you look like you're like 19 with a fake ID.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know whether to talk about investing or doing Molly at Disneyland.
No, seriously, confusing. That's what people have told me, that I just look like too mature for my age. My boss asked me the other day, he was very confused. He was like, I just want to know, like, I kind of thought that you were like 18 or 19, but you are doing so well at this job, and like, what's going on? How old are you? And I was like, I don't disclose that. I'm not gonna. I don't want people to either gain or lose respect because of my age. So
I see. Well, what's the oldest and youngest you've dated in relation to your age at the time?
I dated a guy who was kind of old for me at the time. When I was in school, he was 28 and I was like 20.
That's not old, 28.
Well, he was old for me at the time. I thought he was a grandpa, and I was just like always little self-conscious, like, oh my God, he's so old. He's 28.
Really? Mm-hmm. That surprises me, because so when I had my company in the modeling industry, right? There's something we call hot guy phase. And like new models coming into the agency, 18, 19, 20, whatever. Mm-hmm. They'd always be dating the young hot guy, 6-pack, dangly earring. Like they're like clones of each other. Like literally one would walk in, I couldn't tell them apart. But the most beautiful girls in the agency, like the 10 out of 10s, right? When they were 21, 22, 23, it's like they'd always be dating some normal looking dude. Right, like some dude, maybe dad bod. Yeah. Like if you put on like a brown shirt and you like dropped off your UPS package, you wouldn't be surprised. You'd be like, oh, it makes sense. But it would always be someone who's like extremely successful and ambitious and intelligent, and usually quite a bit older. Usually like mid 30s, maybe even like 40 sometimes.
Interesting. I've never done that. I don't know. It kind of feels like I kind of feel like I can vibe with like any generation. I just have the ability to just mold into the environment that I'm in. Most of my friends are like early 20s, but I've also recently hung out with like a group of late 30, 40-year-olds, and I was like vibing with them too. So I was like, oh, maybe like old people are not that bad. They're cool too. They have good taste in music, and they suggested like some amazing music to check out and movies. So I could maybe see the appeal to dating an old guy at some point, but right now I'm pretty happy with my guy.
It's interesting. So my kind of wheelhouse is like 23 to 26 is the age that I'm most happy dating.
I see.
If I'm dating, like I used to date, like especially my fuckboy days, it would be like 19, 20, like that age range. But I think it's hard to have conversations with girls who are like still in like college, because they've never had to do the real world thing. They never had to like, oh shit, like I have to get a job and like develop a sense of discipline, and because of that, it's like hard to connect with.
Yeah.
Like that young.
Yeah.
But I do like girls that are younger than me for sure.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of guys, like you said, like to date kind of young. What's like you said, it's like hard to have conversations with them, but then why do you date young? What are you going for if the conversation's not there?
What do you think?
I know what I think, but I want to know. I want to hear from you. The truth
is, guys are, there's a difference between attraction and connection, right? So there's one thing that you're attracted to. It's like that oomph, that like pit of your stomach feeling of like, I'm attracted to this, right? Like you were kind of saying before with like the toxic guy you dated. You knew he was toxic, but you felt that attraction for him, right? Guys feel that feeling when there's a girl who's just like stunningly beautiful. And it's mostly visual. The reality is, like, okay, none of my guy friends would date Oprah. No matter most successful woman maybe in the world, none of my guy friends would date Oprah. But plenty of girls would date Leonardo DiCaprio. Even though now he's older, he's not really in his prime. He's probably like, what, 40, 50, something like that. Because guys more so go for looks. And the reality is, even if guys get older, we're still attracted to, or what we're attracted to doesn't change, right? Just like if you got super fat, you wouldn't all of a sudden be attracted to fat people, right? So that's the reason.
So why do you think guys are more visual and less intellectual towards their approach towards attraction? Like, why do you think for you, how a person looks over like what they're really made of is more important?
It's not more important. This is where people get confused. Okay. So ideally, I got an argument with my mom actually the other day about this because she's like very conservative Wisconsin woman, right? She's like, Zach, you're in LA, you're always dating actresses, models, blah, blah, blah. Like, you should focus more on personality. Find a nice girl from church today, right? I'm like, I'm a very ambitious person. So I'm like, okay, Mom, so do you want me to date uglier girls? And she's like, no, not ugly. Just like focus on personality. And I'm like, okay. So there exist beautiful girls with great personalities. Of course.
Yeah.
And then there's like not beautiful girls with great personalities. So of course I'm going to choose the beautiful girl who also has a great personality. Now, the reason people think that guys focus on looks so much is because looks is the part of the equation that's the difficult part. Like, let me ask you a question. Let's say I say right now, hey, like, do you want this glass of water or this gold brick? Pure gold, 24 karat. What are you going to take?
It really depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm dying of thirst
No,
in
but
the moment.
right now, I offer.
Well, right
to
now
right now.
I'm not thirsty, so I'll go for the brick of gold.
Exactly. So even though if I asked you what's more important, water or gold, you would say water. But the reason we don't value water is because it's very easy to get. It literally falls from the sky. We can turn on our faucet. We can get water, right? The truth is the same as for girls. If I want to get a girlfriend and she's not attractive, but she has a great personality, it's not hard because nobody is competing for these girls. The reality, as bad as it sounds, if you're a beautiful girl, you will have celebrities trying to date you. You will have musicians, billionaires. All these people want to date you because you're a 10 out of 10. So it's very difficult to get the beauty side of the equation. Whereas if you're a 4 out of 10, nobody's going for you, so it's very easy to get. So if I'm trying to get a beautiful girl with a good personality also, right?
That's harder to get.
That's harder to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can see that.
So that's the main reason.
Yeah.
Well, why do girls go so much for personality in a superficial kind of way?
I don't know. For me, why I go for personality, I have seen what comes with looks. I personally feel like guys who are blessed with good looks don't know how to handle it. They get very corrupted and then they start misusing it, and they kind of feel like they have to use it and get the most out of it, and that becomes the focus of their life, and that's just the most unattractive thing to me. Like, the person who can handle their beauty with grace and not make beauty their personality, but also be able to have a goal in life, to achieve higher things, to do other things outside of just their looks, and be successful and passionate about something greater than just themselves. That's what attracts me. Based on what I have discussed with my other girlfriends, I think it kind of holds for them too. They also just try to go for guys who are just wholesome and elevate your personal life, not bring you down and make you feel bad about yourself.
See, I don't believe this when girls say this.
Why not? Why is it so hard for you to believe
because the reality is there's so many nice guys. It's so easy. If you don't care about money or looks or any of these other things, there's so many nice guys who are just these little simp guys who just kind of like would do anything to make you happy. And all the girls say they want them, but then like, why aren't y'all dating these guys? I mean, I guess maybe you are now. I don't know. But like, these guys all are like, all the nicest people in my friend group are the ones that have the hardest time getting girls. And all the guys that are like kind of assholes a little bit have the least difficulty getting girls. So when I look in reality and I see that, and then I hear girls tell me, no, we love the nice guys. I'm like, where is this in reality? You know, I feel like people are telling me the sky is green, and then I walk outside and I just see it's blue over and over. You know what I mean?
I can tell you that most girls I know, I don't know a lot of girls who've settled down, but most girls that I know who have settled down with nice guys. Like, I don't see a happy family with like an asshole, because that person's not going to be a good father. That person's not going to be a good provider. That person is there for fun. Every time I dated an asshole, I knew that there was a expiration to that relationship. I never looked at it as someone I would want to settle down with. Like, it was literally for fun, and I knew that in my heart. And I think that's true for most girls too. Like, they are just doing that for fun, for checking the box, for making, like, you know, just like feeling validation at some point, like, oh, a hot girl likes me, guy likes me. But at the end of the day, they're not gonna make that guy father of their children. That, I mean, I just don't see that. If they do, they don't end up in a happy family. So if you want a good, happy, balanced life, I think you have to go for people who are actually genuinely nice at heart and not just there to fuck around.
So what scares me about that, and I've been told by girls I have commitment issues, which is actually not true. I have commitment concerns, they're not issues. Is whenever I talk to a girl about, you're kind of different than most girls I talk to, I will say that. But most girls I talk to, and I'm like, oh, tell me about your exes, right? She'll say, this guy, yeah, this ex, oh man, he is the most amazing guy. He's so sweet. My mom loves him, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, what happened to that guy? Oh yeah, like I just outgrew him. Oh, we lost the spark, or some nebulous reason, but she's always breaking up with that guy. And then whenever it's the other guy, whenever it's like, oh yeah, like fuck this guy, he's an asshole, he's a narcissist, he's a sociopath. I'm like, oh, so you broke up with him? And she's like, well, he broke up with me. And I'm like, so every girl I talk to is like breaking up with the nice guys. And then the assholes they're staying with, and the assholes are breaking up with them. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, I think that's like a very, you have to take into account what happened with the nice guy. I feel like, as a scientific research on this, you would have to think about a lot of aspects, like what went down, how long was the relationship, did she break up with the nice guy because you stopped being nice? Because that's also a thing. I've had friends who've had experience that she started dating a nice guy, but he changed as the time went on. He turned not into a nice guy, and that's why she broke up with him. So I don't think it's as simple as saying like, oh, girls just break up with nice guys. It's more about maybe something changed, their relationship wasn't as good. Sometimes people lose spark, and that can happen with a good guy or a bad guy. But bad guys are just, I have guy friends who are like that. They just cannot settle down. And I have asked them, like, what is it? They would be dating like the most beautiful girl you could ever imagine, and he's having a good time. And I'd be like, is she the one? Do you think like she's gonna be a girlfriend? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, why? What's the problem? And he wouldn't know. He's like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I just feel like it's never enough. And like you said, it's about validation and it's for some people, it's just never enough. So I maybe like, he is breaking up with her because he's just done. He just wants to move on to the next thing. And the girl is like, finally, everyone likes to chase. Human beings, it's our psychology. We want to get what's not attainable. So maybe an asshole like that seems unattainable, and when you pin him down, you're like, oh fuck, I like achieved something great, I pinned him down. But he always keeps you on your toes. So it's mentality, it's psychology. I don't think it's because he's more they've done research on stuff like this, that if like you keep people on their toes, like you keep them chasing, you keep them guessing. A part of your brain is always activated, and it's not because you're more attracted to them. It's literally just because you are in your survival mode and you are figuring out how to not be in my survival mode. I just want to get to a point where I'm not feeling this way, and that's what keeps you in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's, if people like heal their internal traumas and figure out why they're running for it, why they're going for the chase and not something that's solid and makes them feel good about themselves. It's their personal issues and they got to figure it out.
So I don't want, so like girls have told me that, Zach, you have trauma, you should see a therapist, blah, 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 blah.
Have you?
No.
You should. Everyone should see a therapist.
No, because I don't want the therapist to heal my trauma. Because my trauma is there for a reason. And in fact, I think I want more trauma. Because trauma is there to protect you from the bad decisions you've made in your past. You make a decision, something bad happens, right? You, as simple as you're late at night, you're thirsty, you get out of bed, and you slam your shin against the side of the bed or something, right? And it hurts. So then the next time when you get out of bed, your brain is like, oh shit, let me watch out for the side of the bed so I don't slam my shin against it again. So when I have trauma about things, I call it learning, but people call it trauma. I'm like, maybe this trauma is here for a reason. And maybe it's here to help me change my behaviors in a way. So for example, right, my first girlfriend. In high school, like I said, I got friend zone. Couldn't get a girl to save my life. In fact, they started a rumor around school that I was gay because they were like, Zach can't get girls. It was like that bad. So my junior year, finally my friend was like, dude, this girl, Julie, like she wants you to ask her to prom. I was fucking pumped. I was like, Zach, don't fuck this up. So we start dating, and I was the biggest nice guy simp in the world. I would literally every Monday, I would drive to the Walmart between our houses, and I would pick up some flowers and a bag of the purple Skittles, because purple Skittles, like the bag, that was her favorite flavor. And I'd write a note and just leave it on her doorstep. So she'd be like surprised in the morning, right? So I did that every week for 3 years. And we're in college now, we're getting our degrees. And my buddy calls me up and he's like, yo, Zach, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I'm at a party last night and I saw Julie go into a room with some dude. They're in there for like 30 minutes. They come out together. Everybody's saying they hooked up, right? I'm like, no, we're in love. She would never cheat on me. We're going to get married someday, blah, 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 blah. So I go to her dorm room to confront her, right? And I'm standing in front of the door. I remember I was like shaking, right? I knock on the door. She opens it up. I call her out on it. And she just admits it. She's like, yeah, I hooked up with this guy. And at this point, I still, the worst part of it was the guy she hooked up with was the guy she would always complain about. He's such an asshole. He's hooking up with two of my friends at the same time behind their backs, all this shit, right? And I was like, this is the guy that you cheated on me with, right? And I still remember the last thing I said to her. I was like, Julie, I was like bawling my eyes out. She's just like very nonchalant. I was like, I would do literally anything to make you happy. I just want to know why. And she literally looked at me. She goes like this. She like shrugs her shoulders. And she was like, I just got bored. And that moment, right, I was like, I am never going to be this fucking nice guy, simp, pushover guy ever again, right? And I developed this trauma, right, where I was like, fuck this. I need to change my behavior so this doesn't happen to me again. So then for the next 8 years, I'd wake up at 6 a.m., fucking grind on my YouTube channel until that became successful. And I would just fuck as many girls as possible to try to go through my fuckboy phase, right? So 8 years later, finally I'm successful. My YouTube channel is doing well. I moved to LA, move in a mansion, hang out with a bunch of models, cars, everything, right? And I found my ex on Instagram. And I added her. And then she added me back. And then that night I posted all these stories of my, my BMW, my mansion, all these models, blah, blah, blah. And she unfollows me. So I know it kind of like hit her, right? So the next day I went to Walmart and I bought a pack of the purple Skittles. And I take a picture of it and I DM her a picture of the purple Skittles. And I said, thank you for making me the man that I am today. And then underneath my last toxic moment, I was like, so I can get girls who are way hotter than you and your big nose, fire emoji. And that moment healed all of my trauma instantly. Healed my inner child, everything was good, and I never needed to do the fuckboy shit again. But if I never had that trauma, what would have happened to me? I would have been the nice guy my whole life. I would have had girls, I would have been a pushover. Girls would have not respected me. I would have been lonely. So like the trauma was a good thing.
I have questions.
Go for it.
So do you think your drive to do all of this was the fact that she cheated on you, or did you have a different drive that led you to this point?
It was getting cheated on, and it was everybody made fun of me for being poor because my parents like didn't have a lot of money.
See,
So I wanted to like show everybody, you know.
See, I think the second point is what got you here. I don't think cheating. I'm sorry that you got cheated on. That's like the worst experience, and I'm sorry you had to go through that.
I disagree with you. It's a good experience.
I don't know. I mean, it's good because it fueled you. It gave you the fire to do things that you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
It added to the fire, but there's other ways to get that fire, and like you don't have to go through that to get the fire. And I agree. I've had some things in the past that like also fuel me and like gave me the push to keep going forward, because when bad things happen to you, you're challenged more, and you're pushed to like you have to push your boundaries and just kind of just go with things that you're not comfortable with. You learn to be uncomfortable. That's what happens. But you don't have to live through that for the rest of your life. You are here. You have made it, and you proved your point. And I don't think like getting cheated on was anything to do with you being a good guy. She would have done that to a good guy, a bad guy, an asshole. She would have done that to anytime people cheat on anyone. It's about them, not about you. 99% it's about them. It's about their character. It's about who they are, where they are in their life at the point, how old she was. She was probably like 18, 19. People don't really use their brain cells at that age. They use their hormones. And so I don't think you being a nice guy has anything to do with you getting cheated on. So taking that as a lesson that, oh, I don't want to be a nice guy, and I want to be instead an asshole and like fuck every person who crosses my path. I personally don't think that's a good approach, but like you had fun, you got out of it, and I'm glad that you did. But I feel like therapy is a good way. Therapy is not going to take the trauma out of you. It's not going to make you less fun. It's not going to, I think you could have gone to therapy and still have very consciously chosen to do what you were doing. Because that's what you want that's where you were in your life, but you're making a conscious decision instead of, blaming it on her, that I'm doing it because she fucked me over as a nice guy.
But I kind of like, okay, so what if, let's say I go to therapy, right? This therapist is so amazing. After 3 sessions, gets rid of all my trauma, right? But then what am I just going to be happy all the time?
No, I think
that would suck.
No, that's not what happens. That's not what happens. You just learn to process your emotions. You learn to figure out why you're feeling the way you're feeling. It's literally, therapy is math. It's about math, doing math with your emotions, just figuring out, breaking down what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling this way. What are some, being very logical about it instead of being emotional about it. Right now, you're being very emotional. Your responses are very emotional. When you step out of it, your responses become logical. You start understanding yourself as a third person, and you start seeing like, why were my choices this way? What made me choose this? What can I do differently to still choose the same thing because that's what I liked? I'm proud of it, clearly, so I would have chosen that no matter what. But how I could have felt better in that moment while also choosing that. Because right now you're like, oh, I'm a recovering fuckboy. Like, you don't feel that good about your choices. There is some part of it that you might regret.
Of course.
Well,
it's hard to say, because it's like, do you regret things because you needed those experiences to become the person you are today? But I wouldn't say they were great decisions.
Yeah, like sometimes you did what you did. You don't have to be ever sorry about what you did. Like, you can learn from your experiences. You can become a better person tomorrow. And that's literally all that therapy does. It just helps you resolve your emotions. Just be very logical about it instead of being emotional about it.
I don't want to lose my emotions.
You don't lose your emotions. You gain more emotions.
No,
I gained more emotions after therapy.
Even like after I made it and like came to LA and like now I'm doing well or whatever. Part of me misses the days when I was more pissed off. Like
because
part of me,
it feels amazing.
I miss the days where I just woke up with like a fucking fire to like fucking get it because I was so mad. I was like so angry. I miss that. Like I almost wish I need to get bullied a little bit more to like give me some more trauma so I can get back into the zone.
I know what you mean, and I agree with you 100%. Like anytime I'm on set and someone's mean to me, or I have this like experience, or I get, turned down by an audition or something, I kind of like feel bad about it for a second, and then I get mad, and then that madness and that fury kind of just, I want to do things, and I get a lot of shit done because of that. So yeah, the negative emotions are also good for you sometimes if you, they push you forward, but you can learn to use them in a positive way. Like I have learned to be more productive and how to use them. Even, I have learned to channel my anger. Like imagine if you could channel your anger. Imagine if you don't have to like wake up and you feel that anger, and then you can actually like channel it and control it.
Yeah, but I was doing that. I was channeling it into building my business.
What if you don't need to be angry to be building your business?
It's not the same. It's like, I know what you mean. It's like logical. You're like, all right, well, I will just take the same actions as I would before. But it's like, I don't know. It's like, do you watch basketball at all?
No, not too much.
Okay, so Mike, do you know who this guy Michael Jordan is? Okay. His best games was when someone pissed him off. And I'm sure his other games, he wanted to play his best games all the time. Yeah. But when someone pissed him off, that's when he went into like rage mode and just destroyed everybody.
Yeah. And I feel like people pissing you off is not going to change just because you got therapy. I don't think that goes away. I don't think you become a saint on the top of Himalaya just like doing meditation. It's like nothing bothers me anymore. I'm a peaceful little guy, but I don't think that happens. Therapy does not. I think months and months and months of therapy heals you, but a few sessions would definitely not do that.
Maybe. The other thing, I did actually technically go to therapy one time, but it was my girlfriend's therapist. But
like a couple's therapy.
No. Okay, so here's what happens. So I'm dating this girl, and she has anxiety, right? And she's been going to this therapist for like 6 months since I known her, and like probably like years before that, right? And I'm watching her every day, and I'm like, I have 0 degree in therapy, 0 experience in psychology, but I can 100% tell you why you have anxiety. Because every morning you wake up, you take your phone in one hand and your vape in your other hand, you stare at TikTok 2 inches from your eyeballs and suck in nicotine like it's oxygen. Like that's why you have anxiety, not because when you're little, your mom hugged you too tight, and now like you have a trauma from the tight hugs your mom gave you, right? So I told her that, and she tells her therapist, and so the next week she's like, "Oh, Zach, my therapist wants you to come to the next session." Oh, I'm like, God damn it! So I go into the therapist's office, and for half an hour he just keeps telling me I'm the reason for her trauma. I'm such a bad guy, like all this stuff. I'm toxic.
A therapist
for her.
Told you that?
Yeah.
I don't believe
and
that.
Halfway,
really?
Well, here's what happened. Okay. Halfway through the session, I realized, because I'm really smart, I'm like, this dude is trying to steal my girl. He's trying to paint me as the bad guy, so she breaks up with me and then, falls into his arms, blah, blah, blah. So I storm out of the office. I'm like, fuck this, right? She comes running after me. She's like, Zach. I'm like, your therapist is trying to fuck you. And she's like, first of all, he's not my therapist. He's my energy healer. And I was like, he's not even a real therapist?
That
makes What the fuck is even an energy healer? What, you go sit on a mountain and get struck by lightning and now all of a sudden you get magic powers, you're an energy healer? Like, this is a Walmart brand therapist.
Yeah, that makes more sense, because when you were like, the therapist used those words on you, there is no way a trained therapist would ever use such attacking language on anyone. That's not possible. And if they're doing that, then they're not a good therapist. So an energy healer makes more sense for that situation. Yeah.
So after that, I was like,
don't go to an energy healer. Go to a certified therapist who went to school.
Maybe. But I also think that, like, too many... I don't know for girls. Girls are different. You guys have more emotions and hormones and everything, right? But for guys, I think guys are using therapy as a crutch nowadays. Where instead of, like, back in the day, it's like, oh, like, you're stressed. Okay, man up, fix the problem. Once the problem is fixed, you will no longer be stressed because there's no problem to be stressed about. Whereas, like, nowadays, I feel like it's like, oh, little Gen Z boo-boo, are you okay? Let's ride bird scooters and talk about your feelings and never fix the actual problem. And then they go to therapy to put a Band-Aid on it and feel better about their problems, but then nobody, like, fixes the problem.
I mean, it's like a balance, right? Like, you gotta have a balance. You can't just always talk about it and be too soft about things. You have to, like, toughen up at some point. But I do like that men these days are more open to therapy and are more willing to just understand emotions. I feel like we have, as society, like you said, like, I feel bad for men because women were allowed to be more emotional. It's not that we just have more emotions. I think we were allowed to be more emotional, and men were not allowed to be emotional because men were just always told, like, you have to provide, you have to take care of your kids, your wife, and you have to, if you don't get your shit together, there's not going to be food on the table. So men had to take the role, and it's a societal thing. I wish that men didn't have to go through that. So, like, that's what your dad grew up with. That's what your dad told you. And so that's a norm for you. Like, that's what my dad told me. Why the fuck are these Gen Z boys doing the other way?
My dad's old school like that too.
Yeah. So I feel like there needs to be a balance. I feel like either we are going on one extreme or the other extreme. You can still talk about your emotions and get your shit together and still get the shit done and toughen up when you need to. I feel like it's a balance. It's a very hard balance to get. People usually can't get the balance.
But it's not hard. You take, like, your emotions, you look into your own eyes in the mirror, stare into your own soul, and you stuff your emotions deep down in your psyche where they belong. Of what you need to do. And you man up. Like, what do you mean? It always works for me. It's never failed me before.
No, that's not what you should do. That's the opposite of what you need to do.
I don't know.
Don't bottle up your emotions. Share your emotions. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah? Good.
But I'm always feeling good. Not even when I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling good because I like the bad feelings.
That's
you know
good.
What I mean?
You have figured out how to turn your bad feeling into good feelings. You should share that with the world.
Yeah, you know how you learn how to do that? By not going to therapy and just fucking learning it. Like, you just do it over and over, and then it's just a habit, you know?
I mean, if that's what works for you, that's what works for you. You can't, maybe at some point you will feel like you want it, but...
Here's an interesting statistic, because you're smart. You work for Google. How come the poorest countries have the least mental health issues?
Because they're in their survival mode. If you're in your survival mode, you're not thinking about emotions. You don't have time to. If I'm literally thinking of, oh, how am I going to, eat today or get to work tomorrow without dying, or also, like, I do agree with that. I visited Bali last year and I realized that most people in Bali are not that blessed with money. They all work in tourism, and they're always just like welcoming these rich tourists from these rich countries and basically serving them 24/7. But they're very happy, and they're genuinely happy and always smiling and always like chatting and laughing with each other and very kind to each other. And that confused me because I was like, we complain so much.
You're like, you're poor, you shouldn't be happy. You're poor.
Yeah. I was like, I was like, do you hate us like, do you secretly wish that these tourists were dead and you could, kick them out? Or do you genuinely like us? Because I wanted to understand how they were feeling. So I asked my taxi drivers, I would ask my waiters at the hotel, and they would all say, like, yeah, what's not to be happy about? We're on such a beautiful island. We are, like, I'm with my family. I get to, like, go home to my family after this. So I think a lot of it could be just cultural too, like what culture you grow up in and what your priorities in life are. I feel like we are very materialistic in the Western world, and we focus on getting more and more and more. And we feel like if I can have more money, I will be happier. If I have a bigger house, I'll be happier. Just another car. Oh my God, that's going to fix all the problems. Having a very successful business, I think that's it. But that's not what fixes people. That's why celebrities always are like the most struggling of every people I know. They are, they have so much going on in their lives and they're not happy. They do drugs or get crazy plastic surgeries. So I feel like it's cultural to some degree. I think a lot of it is survival mode. Like they have to just live to survive, and they don't really have time to think about emotions or what being happy or sad even means.
I definitely agree with the materialistic side. I also think there's some level of just like, when you were 5, if all of a sudden the water got shut off and you had to walk 5 miles in the sweltering heat to the nearest well every day for a month.
Yeah.
It's
you don't
like,
complain about little things like,
yeah, like,
oh, my girlfriend left me. It's like,
yeah, cool. Like, you're like, no, we have water. I'm good,
Yeah, I'm happy to be alive today.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll make it to tomorrow.
Yeah. And I think nowadays, like, kids get grown up and participation trophies for everybody. Everybody's, like, have you seen those parents where their kids are, like, throwing a tantrum? And they're just like, oh, are you okay? It's like, no, you got to, like, tell your kids, show them who's boss, discipline them. I don't know. It's I think the world's
such a
soft.
tricky situation. I honestly, I genuinely don't. I wish there was more research on that because, yeah, like I feel like this generation is trying to correct the generation of our parents, mistakes of our parents, and bring up kids in a way that we thought we wanted to be brought up, but also we don't know how that would change the society, or like, would that be worse or better? Yeah, it's a very tricky situation. Like, that's why I never want to have kids, because I don't know. Like, I don't want to be responsible for raising a human being and then being blamed for doing everything wrong when they're older. So,
I got a little scared to have kids when I went back to Wisconsin one time. In Wisconsin, everybody gets married at like 21, 22, right? And so they've been married for years, and they're like, Zach, when are you going to get married? You're going to miss the boat. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just like, I don't know if it's the right time, blah, blah, blah. So then later in the conversation, I asked him, I was like, what's your like ideal day? Like, you wake up, what's like your perfect day? And one guy's like, yeah, I wake up, my wife's mom takes the kids, my wife goes out with her girlfriends, and I just have poker night with the boys, watch the game, have some beers, right? And I'm like, your perfect day, I can do every single day of my life. And that just made me think like, man, this is normal to me. And this is like what you would like aim for. So that's why I'm like, I don't know about the kids thing.
yeah, I think people who want kids have very different priorities. And it's just like, for me, my priority is my career. I just want to
Making money.
Sure, making money. Hopefully, I can also help people along the way. But yeah, I feel like when you have a kid, your entire focus shifts to like taking care of this one human or these like few humans that is in your bubble. I would rather help, a larger population and help more people, like help kids, a lot of kids, instead of just helping one kid. Why reduce yourself to that one little human being?
Yeah, that's very sweet of you.
Thank you.
All right, Shani, we're about out of time. I got a couple rapid fire questions for you.
Cool. I'm ready.
Favorite food?
Ramen.
Ooh, interesting. Have you been to the one on Melrose? It's like 2 blocks from here. What is it
Yeah,
called?
I've been there.
Sounds
Well, I
really
want to
good.
correct that. African food.
Oh,
Have you been to Ubuntu?
no.
Must try. So good.
That's in LA?
So good.
Or
Yeah,
no?
in Melrose.
Okay. I'll check it out. Favorite candy?
I don't like candies. Strawberries. Nature's candy.
Favorite first date spot or activity?
On a beach or hiking?
Interesting. You got to be careful with hiking.
Yeah.
That's how you end up on one of those shows.
Yeah, oh my
We haven't
god.
seen Shani in 48 hours.
There's a helicopter rescue going on. Yeah.
What's next travel destination you haven't been to that you would like to go to at some point?
I want to go to Iceland this year because
interesting.
the northern lights are going to be really bright after 11 years. So,
Is that the one where with the ice and the hot springs, or is that Greenland?
yeah, that's
Iceland.
Iceland, yeah.
Okay, nice. All right, well, this has been fun.
Really fun.
Where
Yeah.
can people find you? Any Instagram you want to give a shout out to or something?
Yeah, of course. Just my handle is Shani Jindal, my first name, last name. And yeah, same thing on TikTok.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to do a round 2 sometime.
Of course. I'd be very excited to come back.
All right, take care, everybody.